Tying up another Carrie Stevens fly today. This is the Royal Tiger. Handsome little fly with not silver badger, but this is a golden badger wing in it. Otherwise pretty straightforward with the tail, tag, floss, and the body. Just a handsome little fly, a little bit different than her usual. That's the Royal Tiger, and I'll get started tying. Start the Royal Tiger with my hook in the vise. This is a Partridge CS5-9X. I chose this because the hackles that I have that are a golden badger for this are a little bit shorter than, say, a CS15, so they'll fit this hook a little bit better. I'm going to debarb the hook and I'm going to attach my first thread. This is a Danville's 210 Denier in white. As usual, I'm just going to apply a base layer of white thread here along the hook shank down to the end, not quite to the end of the body, maybe a quarter of the length of the body for the end, so that I can put in my tag. Once I get down to where the tag is going to be put in and the tail, I'm going to attach this is a Danville size 10 silver and gold Mylar tinsel. It's a silver tag, so I'm going to attach this with the gold side up. I'm going to continue wrapping down the hook shank to the end of the hook shank, pretty much which is going to be right about over the barb on this hook. Then I'm going to wrap back up to my tie-in spot. Now I'm going to apply my tag. I don't know that there is a set length for the tag. This is most of the pictures that I've seen and other flies that I've seen people tie of these featherwing streamers, especially Carrie Stevens. This is about the length of the tag that I see on most of them. So that's kind of why I stick with that. I'll have to do a little research and see if there actually was some sort of formula that she had, or generally that has been developed in terms of how much of the hook shank is for the tag and the tail and where it's tied in. But this is how I'm doing it right at the moment. Save that piece for my rib. And I'm going to tie in my tail. The tail on the Royal Tiger is just some red hackle fibers I'm using. This is a Whiting's American Rooster Cape. I'm just going to take some of these barbs, long barbs here off the bottom, maybe 15, 20 of them, depends on how thick you want it. I'm going to peel those off and collect those together. That's what I'm going to tie in for my tail. I'm going to trim these so that the curly cues that come off the rachis, I remove those at a little bit of a taper. If I leave those in, I'll get a more pronounced bump on the back end. I tie those in so that they extend about a quarter of a shank past the bend of the hook. A couple wraps to hold that in. I'm going to reattach my rib, same tinsel for the rib on this. I'm going to attach this with the gold side out because it is a silver rib. And then it is a red floss body. I'm using a Danville 4-strand Rayon in red. I'm going to attach that along the side of the hook here. I'm not necessarily making these the length of the body. You could if you wanted to, if you really want to have a nice smooth underbody. I'm going to apply a little bit more wax to my thread here to collect the materials down. I'm going to advance my thread forward, collecting all that material up to the end of the body, and then I will apply that floss and rib. My thread now at the end of the body, I'll apply that floss body and that rib. With the body and the rib applied, I can now change over to my red thread. The head on the Royal Tiger is red with a black stripe. So we're going to change over to a red thread right now. And then we'll put the black stripe in after we are done. Red thread, I'm simply using a Danville 70 denier in red. I'm using a lighter denier on this because I don't want to bulk the head on this up. All I have left to tie in is the throat, which is some red hackle, and the wing. So this, using a smaller denier right here will just help me not bulk that head up too much. Easy to do on these flies with so many things that tend to get tied in. So the throat is just some red hackle. I'm using some red Schlappen for this. I've already clipped the end off of this, and I'm just taking these long fibers here. I don't mind if they're a little fluffy on the ends, but if you don't want those, if you want a little bit cleaner, I think it still looks nice, and I think it fishes very well. I'm going to tie that in so it's about halfway down the shank of the hook. This is all kind of standard lengths that she uses on a lot of her featherwing streamers. Then I'm going to take another clump for the right side and for the left side. Tying that in the same length. Secure that in, make certain it stays on the side here. And then the last clump will get tied in on the other side. Sometimes these barbs are a little bit on the short side and they can be a little bit challenging to clip off the butt ends here. If you find that happening, by all means, just get another feather and make certain that you're tying them in there long enough so you can easily reach in there and clip those off. Sometimes you don't know until you tie them in. So I'm going to wrap this all down, smoothing this out for my wing. Now I can tie in my wing. As I mentioned before, the wing is made up of some golden badger. So there's 2 golden badger hackles on this and then a cheek of jungle cock. I've already got those assembled. If you don't know how I assemble these, there's a couple of different videos on assembling the Carrie Stevens wings on these flies. They're out on YouTube. I'm going to trim away the excess rachis on that and give me my left and right side that I can then tie in. I'll go ahead and tie my side in first. That way you can see how I'm tying that in. Very straightforward. Since it's all assembled, you're just going to put it in with the rachis along the hook shank. And you want that part, that little handle you left to tie in, to be in the upper, not right on top, but kind of in the upper quadrant towards my side. That will put it right in along parallel to the hook shank and nice and perpendicular to the fly. Tie in the other one on the other side. I do take a moment to make certain that the tips are generally even on both of those. That is actually done during the process of making these, so it usually is not an issue when you're tying these in. So I'll secure that in and then double check, and everything's turned out pretty well there. Tail fibers out of there. It's generally how I like to see it. It's either going to be the bottom part of the wing is just over the body a little bit. So now I'm going to clean this space up with my red thread, shaping the head, covering any butt ends up, making certain it's a nice solid red color, uniform shape. Once I have that taken care of, then I'm going to put in a whip finish for the red that will secure the red thread, and I can put in my black band on this. For black, I'm going to use a Danville 70 Denier in black. This is only going to take just a few wraps. I am going to put some wax on my thread. I have found a lot of videos I don't do this, and often I haven't, but I have found lately that consistently using the wax definitely does help flies. But I'm going to go ahead and attach this right in the middle, actually forward a little bit in the middle, because I want to get a wrap or two in and then bring the thread to my side, wrapping backwards, trapping that thread in. It's easy to bulk this band up, so be careful. And then I'm going to just put in a couple more wraps forward and back to get that nice and covered. And then put in a whip finish. It's not a big whip finish. It's usually about 4 wraps because I want to make certain they're nice and precise on top of that black band. find it best. You can do different things if you have issues with your whip finishes coming undone. Right here, you could put some head cement on all that, let it set, and then come back and trim the thread off. I find if I don't pull too hard, often I don't have any issues with those when I'm cutting the thread off, them coming unwrapped. I'll put some fly tight on here to get that to soak down in there. That will secure the head of the Royal Tiger. And in a moment, I'll come back and put a couple layers of clear lacquer on it, and then the fly will be complete. That's the Royal Tiger. Fun fly. Badger hackles, not often used in a lot of Carrie Stevens patterns, and it's a nice change of pace. There's the Royal Tiger. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch, or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.